Good morning, Prime Community. I'm here to continue reading out Edgar Allan Poe. This is called How to Write a Blackwood Article. I presume everybody has heard me. My name is Signore Psyche Zenobia. This I know to be fact. Nobody but my enemies ever called me Suki Snobs. I have been assured that Suki is but a vulgar corruption of Psyche, which is a good Greek and means the soul. That's me. I'm all soul, and sometimes a butterfly, which later meaning undoubtedly alludes to my appearance in the new crimson satin dress and the sky blue Arabian mantelet and the trimmings of green agraphillas and the 7 flounces of orange-colored aurilicas. As the snobs, any person who should look at me would be instantly aware that my name wasn't Snobs. Miss Tabitha Turnip propagated that report through sheer envy. Tabitha Turnip, indeed. Oh, the little wretch, but what can we expect from a turnip? Wonder if she remembers the old adage about blood out of a turnip, eh? Memory. But her and mine, is it the first opportunity? Again, pull her nose. What was I? I have been assured that Snobs was a mere corruption of Zenobia, and that Zenobia was a queen. So am I. Mr. Moneypenny, as always calls me the Queen of Hearts, and then Zombia, as well as Psyche, is good Greek, and that my father was a Greek, and that I consequently I have had the right to our patronymic, which is Zombia, and not by any means Snobs. Nobody but Tabitha Turnip could call me Suki Snobs. I am the Signora Psyche Zembobia. As I said before, everybody has heard of me. I am the very Signora Psyche Zenobia, so just celebrated as corresponding secretary to the Philadelphia Regular Exchange, T, Total, Young, Belles Lettres, Universal, Experimental, Biogeographical Association to Civilize Humanity. Dr. Moneypenny made the title for us and says he chose to because it sounds big like an empty rum puncheon, a vulgar man that sometimes, but he's deep. We all signed the initials of the society after our names in the fashion of RSA, Royal Society of Arts, SDUK, Society of Diffusion for Useful Knowledge, etc. Dr. Moneypenny says that S stands for stale, and that the DUK spells duck, which it doesn't, and that the SDUK stands for stale duck and not for Lord Broughton Society. And then Mr. Moneypenny is such a queer man that I am never sure when he is telling me the truth. At any rate, we always add to our name the initials PRETTY, BLUE, BATCH, that is to say Philadelphia Regular Exchange, T Total, Young, Belles Lettres, Universal Experimental Biographical Association to Civilize Humanity. 1 letter for each word, which is a decided improvement upon Lord Broughton. Mr. Moneypenny will have it in our initials, give our true character, and for my life I can't see what he means, notwithstanding the good offices of the doctor and the strenuous exertions of the association. It gives itself into notice. It met with no great success until I have joined it. The truth is, the members indulged in too flippant a tone of discussion. The papers read every Saturday evening were characterized less by depth than by buffoonery. They were all whipped syllabub. There were no investigation of anything at all. There was no attention paid to the great point, the fitness of things. In short, there was no fine writings like this. It was all low, very. No profundity, no reading, no metaphysics, nothing which the learned call spirituality and which the unlearned choose to stigmatize as cant. Mr. M says I ought to spell cant with a capital K, but I know better. When I joined the society, it was much my endeavor to induce a better style of thinking and writing, and all the world knows how well I had succeeded. We get up a good paper now in the pretty blue patch, and if any found even in Blackwood, I say Blackwood because I have been assured that this is the finest writing upon every subject is to be discovered in the pages of the justly celebrated magazine. We now take it to our model upon all themes and getting into the rapid notice accordingly. And after all, it's not so very difficult a matter to compose an article in the genuine Blackwood stamp. It only goes properly about it. Of course, I don't speak of the political articles. Everybody knows how they are managed since Mr. Moneypenny explained it. Mr. Blackwood has a pair of tailor shears and 3 apprentices who stand by him for orders. One hands him the Times, another the Examiner, and a third guy gullies the new compendium of slang-wang. Mr. B merely cuts out the interspecies. It is soon done. Nothing but Examiner, slang-wang, and Times, then Times, slang-wang, and in the Examiner, and then Times, Examiner, and slang-wang. But the chief merit of the magazine lies in its miscellaneous articles. It is the best of these come under the head of what Mr. Moneypenny calls the bizarreries, what they may mean, and what everybody else has called the intensities. But this is a species of writing which I have long known how to appreciate, although it is only since my late visit to Mr. Blackwood, disputed by the Society, that I have made aware of the exact method of composition. This method is very simple, but not so much as to the politics. Upon my calling at Mr. B's and making known to him the wishes of the Society, he received me with great chivalry, took me into his study, and gave me a clear explanation of the whole process. "My dear Madame," he said, evidently struck with my majestic appearance, for I had on the crimson satin with the green agraffas and orange-colored aurelias. "My dear Madame," he said, "sit down. The matter stands thus. In the first place, your writer of intensities must have very black ink and a very big pen, which is very nib. And mark me, Mrs. Psyche Zambobia," he continued after a pause with the most expressive energy and solemnity of manner, "mark me, that pen must never be mended. Herein, madame, lies the secret, the soul of intensity, and I assume upon myself to say that no individual of however great genius ever wrote with a good pen, understand me, a good article. I may take it for granted, and when manuscript can be read, and it is never worth reading, there is at least principle in our faith, of which we cannot readily ascend. Our conference is at an end." He paused, but of course, it was with no wish to put an end to the conference. I assented to the proposition, so very obvious, and one too of whose truth I had all along been sufficiently aware. He seemed pleasant and went on with his instructions. "It may appear invidious to me, Mrs. Psyche Zenobia, to refer you to an article or set of articles in the way of model or study, yet perhaps I may as well call your attention to a few cases. Let me see. This was The Dead Alive, a capital thing. The record of a gentleman's sensations when entombed before the breath of out of his body, full of taste, terror, sentiment, metaphysics, and erudition. You would have sworn that the writer had been born and brought up in a coffin. Then when he had the confessions of the opium eater, fine, very fine, glorious imaginations, deep philosophy, acute speculation, plenty of fire and fury, and a good spicing of the decidedly unimaginable. It was a nice bit of floonery, went down the throats of the people delightfully, and would have had that Coleridge wrote the paper, but not so, and so composed by the pet baboon Juniper over a runner of Hollands and water, hot without the sugar. This I could scarcely have believed had it been anybody but Mr. Blackwood who assured me of it. This was the involuntary experimentalist, all about a gentleman who had got baked in an oven and came out alive and well, although certainly done to a turn. And then there was the diary of the late physician, where the merit lay in good rest and indifferent Greek, both of them taking things with the public. And then there was the Man of the Bell, a paper by Mrs. Zenobia, which I cannot sufficiently recommend to your attention. It is the history of a young person who goes into sleep under the clapper of a church bell and is awakened by a tolling for the funeral. The sound drives him mad, and accordingly, pulling out his tablets, he gives a record to his sensations that are great things after all. Should you ever be drowned or hung, make sure you take a note of your sensations. They will be worth for you 10 guineas a sheet. If you wish to write forcibly, Miss Zenobia may minute attention to the sensations." "That I certainly will, Mr. Blackwood," I said. "Good," he replied. "I see you are a pupil of my own heart, and I must put you a fault to the details necessary in composing what may be denominated as genuine Blackwood article of the sensation stamp, the kind of which you will understand me to say I consider the best of all my purposes. The first thing requisite is to get yourself into such a scrape as no one ever got into before. The oven, for instance, is a good hit, and if you have no oven or big bell at hand, then you cannot conveniently tumble out of a balloon or be swallowed up in an earthquake or get struck fast in the chimney. You will have to be contented with simply imagining some similar misadventure. I would prefer, however, that you have the actual fact to bear it out. Nothing so well assigns the fantasy as an experimental knowledge of the matter of hand. Truth is strange, stranger than fiction, besides more than the purpose. We're going to leave this for another day because this sounds to me like people trying to get clicks on the internet. It's just too funny for me to even think about. So I'm just going to end by reading a poem by Miss Emily Bronte called A Daydream. On a sunny brae alone I lay one summer afternoon. It was the marriage time of May with her young lover June. From her mother's heart, seen loath to part, that queen's of bridal charms, but her father smiled in the fairest child he ever held in his arms. The tree did wave their plenty crest, the glad birds carolled clear, and I, of all the wedding guests, was only sullen there. There was not one but wished to shun the aspect void of cheer. A very grey rocks looking on asked, "What do you here?" And I could utter no reply. In sooth, I do not know why I had brought a clouded eye to greet the general glow. So rest in a heavy bank, I took my heart to me, and we all together sank into reverie. We thought, when winter comes again, we'll see these bright things be, all vanished with a vision vain and unreal mockery. The birds that now so blithely sing through deserts frozen dry, poor specters of the perishing spring, in famished troops will fly. And why would we be glad at all? The leaf is hardly green before a token of the fall on the surface seen. Now, whether it was really so, I never could be sure, but it, in fit of peevish woe, I stretched me on the moor. A thousand gleaming fires seemed kindled in the air. A thousand silvery layers round sounded far and near. Methought the very breath I breathed was full of sparks divine, and all my leather couch was wreathed by the celestial shine. And while the wide earth echoing rung to the strange mind stillay, the little glittering spirit sang, or sing to me. O mortal, let them die, let me and tears destroy, that we may overflow the sky with universal joy. Let grief to stand the sufferer's breast, and night observe his way, that hasten him to endless rest and everlasting day. To these the world is like a tomb, a desert naked shore, to us an unimagined bloom and brightness more and more. And could we still lift, and could we will lift the veil and give one brief glimpse to thine eye, thou wouldst rejoice to those that live, because they live to die. The music ceased, the noonday dream, like dreams of night withdrew, but Fanny still will sometimes deem her fond creation true. That's the today of today's pose lesson. And Miss Bronte, please like and subscribe and have a nice day.